Because it's 8:01, so you know how that goes. You know how that goes. And I believe we're live. We're live good.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So, ugh, welcome to the Smortcast, episode 5. It sucks we didn't get to do it yesterday, but I understand you were busy.
Yeah. Had a whole handful of things going on.
I feel that. Yeah, I feel that. I always have a bunch of stuff going on. Like work today.
Yeah.
Jeez, fucking. Like, you go to leave work. Hey, does anybody need anything? Right? Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I need this. Okay. Another 40 minutes. Come on.
You still clocked in?
I don't even clock in. I'm salary. I don't get OT.
Well, there's your answer right there.
That's why I stay like 10-hour days.
Welcome to V-Rot.
I'm on the losing side of um my income. That's definitely for sure. But I'm not. I don't know. I don't think it's. I don't think I'm that bad. So. So we're doing best bang for your buck. You got a list?
I got a couple bikes in mind.
Couple bikes in mind.
Yeah.
So what defines your best bang for buck? How do you define it? Is it most horsepower and torque per monies, or what do you define? Let's define this.
Well, I mean that's a good question. I'd probably say it's all around experience.
All around experience.
Yeah, like like any idiot can hop on a super sport or something and you know go 200 miles an hour, but are they having fun when they're doing it, or is that what they wanted? That kind of thing.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Yeah, I couldn't imagine going 200 miles an hour. Like 100 is like, okay, I've done it.
Yeah, that's actually well, excuse me. Let me start off by saying when I was in Mexico, uh, that's how I tested my windscreen, and no bueno. Somebody probably should have told me that the Puig windscreen for a 390 Duke was made for somebody shorter than 6 foot tall.
Yeah, well, so you could make some risers for it. Basically, make a bracket that relocates it up, and you can take. I know from experience, you can take your oven, set it to a specific temperature, and then form plexiglass or plastic into a curved shape by using your oven. For my dad's VTX, he made wind guards for the legs that way.
Oh,
So you can make a bracket to move it up like however many inches you want, and then add some mounting points onto that bracket that you would attach your own custom windscreen to, and it would just look two-piece. But if you get some, I think it's acrylic, some clear acrylic, it doesn't
yeah.
take long to do. It's just if you have your oven too hot, it will bubble and look like crap because one of his looks really nice and the other one, this is the first one, it does not look as nice.
Well, the problem with the Puig for the 390 Duke is even if it's up higher or down lower or to the left or to the right, it still looks dorky.
Well, all windscreens are going to look dorky unless you're on a cruiser or an ADV.
Yeah, but this one is just intentionally made to look stupid.
Well,
I
make it
mean,
your own.
you know what? That's actually been a consideration.
Like I said, it's not hard. Some clear acrylic, an oven, and then something for it to form around.
Yeah, because it hits me in the eye. If I flip my visor up, I'm catching wind right in the eye.
Nice.
But
I'm in
without it,
I'm in
do
what you call it. I have a standard, so everything hits me everywhere.
I'd just rather it hit me in the chest than in the face, I guess. Oh God, that's what she
I,
said. Oh, I went there. Sorry about that, buddy.
oh boy. So let's get started on your what?
I got jokes today.
Oh, you're on the Discord right now.
Oh no, I just said I got jokes today. Did you hear what I said?
Not really. I was busy looking through comments.
Oh, okay, good. We're just gonna let that one slide.
I'll just watch the recording. It's fine.
There you go.
So, what do you got for number one for a bang for your buck? So this is for the experience, right? The best money for the experience.
Yeah, yeah, and well, it's actually it, it's what they consider like I guess like the opposite of my bike, the Ninja 400, and there's a reason why I'm going with that bike
Mm-hmm.
because I've basically raced one of those things and they're quick.
Ninja
That
400s. Everyone slams on them, but they are stupid little quick machines. It's higher displacement than an R3, and it's almost the same horsepower and torque. I think it's a little bit more torque. For like $1,000 less.
yeah, and on top of that, like so with like KTM and your 390s, right? You have the RC 390.
Mm-hmm.
You ever notice? I mean, sometimes you'll see it, but for the most part, they always compare the Ninja 400 to the Duke. You know, like
Well, I
they'll
think that's
match up.
because of a seating position thing.
Well, that and then it's just like it's comfortable. You know, like I've sat on the RC. It's you know that seat, man. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear you. But yeah, no, the Ninja 400 has that standard seating position, so you're more upright, which makes it feel both faster and less fast than it actually
Yeah,
is.
they can boogie.
They can,
I
any
got.
bike now.
You could probably tell that my list of bikes goes in order from bottom to top.
So the Ninja 400 is like the bottom of the barrel.
No, just like the like I like everybody wants to say beginner bike. Not really beginner bike, but you know what I mean. Like a
Lower skill,
low displacement.
low displacement. Yeah, I mean, highly skilled people can ride a Ninja 400, and if you go to other countries, a Ninja 400 is considered a big bike.
Yeah, that's what has having a Duke has made me realize like it's fun. I mean, like yeah, if you like R6s and all that, cool. You know, that's your thing, but you don't have to have it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, I don't know. I feel like people get swept up in the mystery of uh, like, hey, I want this cool, sexy looking bike, and I'm gonna look super cool on it, and it's gonna be great. And then you ride it for 30 minutes, and you go, no.
Yeah,
So I don't know. They'll have their purpose. If you like to, if you like to go super fast, I guess, or get on the track, then it's a good choice for you. But, yeah. Also, Ninja 400s look dope nowadays.
Yeah, yeah. My friend's got one. I don't know if you remember that picture I put on the
Y-
pod on Chase's
Yep.
podcast.
Mhm.
Man, just those things in person, like that was another thing too. They look really fast. like,
They look like baby ninjas. They got
yeah,
them sorted out real well, and um, the ZX4R looks like a mini ZX10. It's their Kawasaki has always been really good. Well, recently has been really good with style. Their Ninja 250 kind of looked like a Tupperware container, but um, the newer stuff is pretty quick looking, and it's fun. And I personally would choose a Ninja 400 over an R3 because it's $1,000 cheaper. That $1,000 is like accessories. You get the bike wrapped whatever color you want, and get different controls and whatever, all for the price of an R3, the extra price of an R3.
and it looks sicker. It just something about it in person is just like wow. Like I mean, nothing about the R3, but the R3 is just too smooth. Like
It looks like the R1. It looks like a baby R6, which is what it's supposed to be.
yeah,
Um, Personally, I think it's a little overplayed. I think Chase was mentioning in the podcast about a uh, track shootout day, right?
yeah,
Right. So he was like, "Well, we could have the GSX 250 on there," and he's laughing about that. And he's like, "I'll be on an R3. I'll be on an R3." And Yankee was all about that RC 390.
yeah.
I'm almost willing to bet an RC 390 will slap an R3, and
Oh,
even a Ninja 400, even though it's got a little less power. I think that it's set up more for the track than either bike.
yeah. And again, in person, the damn RC390 looks thick.
They do. They look very nice, and they're very small.
Yeah,
I'm very amazed because I don't have any small bikes like displacement or size wise. The KDX 220. That's a dirt bike. It's a full size dirt bike. It's got like a 37-inch seat. It's tall and it's long and it's got big wheels. And then I've got the GS, 600 pounds, big bike. And then the
all.
Superhawk is very narrow but very long. It's a long bike. When I saw it in person, I was like, "Damn, this thing looks like a boat." Compared to when I went to Cycle Gear the other day and I saw a Jixus 1000F, that thing was tiny. It
Huh.
it was absolutely minuscule.
The one that gets me is like my friend. He has got a Busa, and one day
Boosters
he's
are
like,
huge.
yeah, he let me set on it. I was like, golly.
Yeah, it's the old Cadillac of bikes. It's got a big motor, but it's got a big everything.
I mean, I'm just sitting there looking like, what's on the other side of this gas tank? Because I can't see it.
Yeah, the Superhawk's gas tank is massive, and it only holds 4 gallons. It's an enormous fuel tank, but it only holds 4 gallons because the entire underside of it is hollow, and that's where the airbox is.
Oh,
I wonder
so
how
you
many
got
sport bikes are like that, where um, as air comes in, because all these bikes, all these sport bikes have ram air now, and it goes in through the front head stock. It doesn't go through the front head stock, but it goes in through the front, and I guarantee you almost all sport bikes now have an air filter underneath the gas tank, and it gets shoved in there because it's directly above the the engine. Just like modern dirt bikes now, the front is kind of a gas tank, but it's more the airbox now. Like Honda's, that's the airbox up front. KTM's, Huskies, that's all airbox. All the fuel's in the rear.
so they actually started doing that.
Oh yeah, Kate. Um, I
I mean, it
believe.
makes you know,
Hmm?
it makes sense. I mean, when I used to ride dirt bikes, if I hit any jumps, I spent most of the time trying to keep the rear up, like down. You know,
Mm-hmm.
It always wanted to endo,
Yeah.
and
Nah,
then they
I
had
feel it. On my KDX that always wanted to happen. So I'd always have to lean back, compress the suspension, and you know how when you jump, you stomp on the bike a little bit so the spring is compressed. That way, when you're coming off the jump, it extends your springs and you get a little more oomph.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun too because you probably never put it together, but jumping and doing wheelies is like almost the same sort of starting motion.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Well, like my KDX, if you were to sit like 2 inches back and hit the throttle, it would wheelie. No problem.
Oh,
If
you'd
it's
be
in
on
that power band, it'll wheelie. It'll power wheelie all day. First gear, second gear, third gear, it'll wheelie. Because it weighs nothing. But yeah, or another trick I've learned is if you quickly tap the front brake,
yeah,
if you
lower it.
like quickly tap it so that way your front end compresses. So you'll tap the front and then clutch throttle up, and it just bounces the front end off the ground.
Sweet.
Don't anyone listening, do not go on the road and then just like grab your front brake to try and wheel. This is
Right.
very much a dirt bike thing.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah, it's a different weight issue.
Yeah, no, dirt bikes are insane, and I can't wait till I get another one.
And I'll go ahead and say too, the one time I rode an FZ07, you can throttle that thing up.
Oh yeah, yeah, they're hoonigan bikes. That's all it is. It's a hooligan bike.
yeah, it's definitely on my list. I'll say that.
Man, these
But that's
Ninja 400s. If I were starting out again and I didn't have a dirt bike, I think a Ninja 400 would be fantastic. It looks so nice. And that green, you gotta love the green. But they also come in a cool teal.
yeah, like my homeboys. I think his is a 14. I can't remember, but his is white. And as we were like riding around that day, I just kind of caught myself saying like out loud, like, "Wow, Kawasaki made white look like it's
Oh
like a
yeah,
different, like
the ZX6R, a white Z. There was a guy at the shop that I used to frequent all the time to get my tires changed and whatever, and he had a snow white ZX6R, and I'm probably never gonna get a white bike purely for the fact that as I was growing up, every single car in our family was white. We always had a
yeah,
white car and a white house with a white shed, so I kind of got surrounded by that. So I
yeah.
ended up getting a fluorescent, like canary yellow car because it's so different.
Maybe that's why I want the damn Garden Snake FZ, dude. I don't know what it is about that bike, but it's got a hold on me.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
fine.
you could, the Jake the Garden Snake FZ with the damn
Yep.
neon yellow S wheels, and you can have one sitting beside a black one. and, and that's the one I'm gonna hop. I don't know what it is. I
That's
hadn't
fine.
been able to put.
I mean, you
I
could.
think it
Hmm?
because it was so drastic the first time I saw it. You know?
Yeah, it's definitely a big. I liked that one. Like I said, I'd probably never own one. I'd ride
Yeah.
one, but
Well, they even did it with speaking of like we was talking about like the white and stuff. That the dang SV650's got like with white with that blue trellis.
now if you were
It,
to powder coat that blue trellis to a red trellis, it would look almost like Ducati Monster.
yeah, that's true.
Which the whole reason Suzuki went with the 90-degree V twin is because Ducati went with the 90-degree V twin. But
Oh, really?
the SV650 was developed directly to compete with the Monster. It is a baby monster. That is its point. The Ducati Monster came out and had huge success. And Suzuki looked at that and went, well, damn. We want some of that because that's just when the naked bike craze was starting to take off, right?
Yeah.
So they went, ah, the Ducati's a 90-degree V-twin. We're gonna make a 90-degree V-twin, and they're like, what sizes do we have? And they're like, well, we just made the boosters, so we'll throw those pistons in, so it'll end up being a 650cc. Okay. So the whole thing was sort of rushed. So the first gen is kind of a derpy bike, but they perfected it the second, third, and fourth. But yeah, no, the whole reason they made that bike was because of the Ducati Monster.
Was the first gen the one that has like the kind of looks like a SD6, like it has like a it looks like a sport bike without the bottom fairings.
Um, it looks like a Ducati Monster.
Uh,
It has a trellis style frame. It has one big round headlight. It has the low side underslung, not underslung, side mount exhaust. It they they made it to look like a Ducati Monster.
you probably outsell it too.
Oh wait, actually I don't know. Ducati Monster sold extremely well. It was insanely popular. In fact, it's
Yeah, but
still
there's one
insane.
thing, man.
I think it's they're still their number one selling bike right now is the Monster.
That might be true, but when you go up to Mountain Motorsports in Roswell and you take your bike to the back to the service department to drop it off to get it annual service, and you start looking around at all the bikes that people have sitting there, you start to realize there's a lot of Ducati monsters up there.
I
There's a
think that's
lot of
because
them.
of they require more service. I think that was kind of Suzuki's thing. Like, hey, we can get you close to a monster, right? It's not going to be a monster, but it's not going to be a Ducati. Like,
Yeah.
the average guy can own it. Like, that's Suzuki's thing. The average guy can own it. It'll start up whenever you want it to. It'll run. Doesn't have a lot of frills. That's always been Suzuki's thing. Yamaha always throws tech in it. Honda always overbuilds. But Suzuki always says, like, hey, we're going to make something the average man could use and the average person, I guess I could say, could use. And it'll be efficient and fun and everyone will enjoy it, which is why I like Suzuki, because they're kind of like, yeah, we put an engine and two wheels together, have fun with it.
Yeah. But what do you think, man? What would be your bike of choice in this situation?
Um, I don't know. I think if you, like the way I see it is like, man, okay, I got my first bike, I got the bug, right? But I want my second bike, but I really don't have the funds to buy a second bike, right? Like a brand new second bike, they cost a lot of money. So
Yeah.
what's the closest thing you can get? And you start. Personally, I always say go used. Uh, and it depends on what you want to do. Most people's first bike is going to be a sportier style bike, I feel. I don't think too many people start out on cruisers. I mean, the Rebel maybe, but the Rebel even then is more of a neutral cruiser than a full-blown cruiser.
Yeah.
So they might look at that and then go, man, I want to try something else, like ADV is taking off. My best advice is to get any plated dual sport, cheap as hell, and just go. Because it doesn't matter the
Yeah.
power. You can have a 12 horsepower dirt bike, and you don't go very fast off road. I don't know how, like, Dakar, Baja, those are the fast ones. Those are the ones where bikes with legs can get up to 100 miles an hour. Other than that, your average speed is super low. You don't need that much power.
That's
So,
what makes it so fun too.
so I'd probably go with like an older DR200, um, DR350, XR400, one of the older air-cooled kickstart bikes, because you can wrench on them. There's a lot of customization, and they kick ass off-road.
That's almost like everything you just said is is why the second bike on my list is the DRZ 400.
Yeah, DRZ 400. The problem is the 400s hold uh, their value extremely well. Like, brand
Yeah,
new, they're 7. Used, they're 5. Like,
right.
okay. Like, if I remember when people were like, "Hey, you can get a DRZ 400 for like $2 grand and a bucket of chips," and I was like, "Yeah, sign me up." But
Yeah,
now with the used, that's why I'm looking at XR 650Rs, because I can get an XR 650R or I can get a DRZ 400. They're both carbureted. They're both liquid cooled. They're both singles. They're both dirt bikes. Like, one has more balls to it. Okay, I guess I'll go with that one.
yeah. Isn't it weird though, like how like in just like a matter of like the time of COVID that the whole motorcycle scene, like at least how I see it around here, has like everybody's flipped from like street to ADV.
ADV has been on the rise since before COVID. It's just that ADV is like, okay, it does an ADV bike does everything. It's the jack of all trades. They can be sporty, they can go off road, they can take potholes, they can commute, they get good fuel economy. So it's just a jack of all trades bike. And so when people go like SUVs and trucks, everyone wants an SUV and truck. Nobody needs really an SUV or a truck, because not many people that have them actually do truck things or SUV things. They could get a van and probably be just as happy. So
Around
ADV
around here,
is
every
the truck slash SUV of the bike world. Big, cushy, you know.
got me thinking about that damn supermoto again.
Supermotos are fun.
Yeah, fun little story. So I don't know if you caught it the other day. I was trying to convince the wife that the XSR 900 was voted like the greatest couples bike. Yeah,
XSR 900.
yeah, that's on my list too. The new one though, not the other one.
Oh, that Yamaha.
Yeah.
It is not a great couple's bike.
Oh, I know.
Stop lying to her. It is not a great couple's bike.
but the best part was like somehow in the middle of the conversation, I said, "Yeah, and I can park it beside the DRZ and the Duke," and she goes, "What's a DRZ?" And I told her, and she's like, "Wait, you're planning on 3 bikes?" uh, and I was like, "No, I was kind of thinking like maybe 4." Yeah, she ain't having it.
Yeah, well, if you want a good couple's bike, you're gonna have to go a little bit larger.
Yeah,
I mean, it's good for you.
yeah. She says, "You're gonna end up buying a Harley, ain't you?" And I was like,
Harleys
"No."
aren't that bad of bikes. I know I shit on them too. They're good for what they are. It's just the classic muscle car. It's just the classic muscle car of bikes. That's all it is. Old school.
Well, have you noticed like whenever I talk anything about motorcycles, the first thing I go to is weight.
Weight.
Yeah, like the weight of the bike.
You don't want to go too light unless you're going off road.
You know what I'm saying though. Like
Yeah.
anytime I talk about any bike that I want or anything, the first thing I go to is like when I was talking about the CRF 300.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
CRF 300L. Very fun bike.
yeah. It was on my list because of weight.
because it's
You
low
know.
weight.
Mhm. I'm starting to realize everything that I consider goes back to like I guess like my dirt bike years. You know.
Yeah, but that's hard to break out of.
Yeah.
Um, like you want some mass on the road because it keeps you from getting blown around on by semis and cars and crosswinds and like dirt bikes are different. You don't care. You don't have semis. You don't have to really worry about the wind because you're changing direction too fast. Um, but on the street, you kind of want something with some weight.
I just couldn't do it with the Harley. That's a whole lot of weight.
But it's really low. When you drop it,
Yeah,
it
I
doesn't
mean,
feel low.
and side note, like I actually when I took my learners, I saw a lady set one down.
Mm-hmm.
Not my learners when I got my actual like endorsement.
Yeah.
Yeah, at low speeds, they set down really slow.
Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, it's not any different from like Chase just did the video. I didn't watch it. I don't watch a lot of the videos on the KTM 11, the super adventure, right? That's
Yeah,
a big V twin ADV bike, and while I love the
yeah, they're
concept of it,
big as hell,
it's
man.
heavier than hell.
Yeah, I saw one, and I can almost guarantee you, I saw the one that he rode
The
because they
problem
had a
is that it's heavy and it's tall. So if it drops, you have a lot more you have to pick up without a leverage advantage.
and the more you fall, the more boom.
Yeah. So I don't know if I'm doing ADV off road, like a 650R is probably the largest I'll go, or a 690. But I can't trust if KTM's engine will just detonate on me. So you know,
Yeah, they have a tendency to do that. I'm not even going to get into their electrical.
I'm not like yeah, I'm not the big like the XR650R. I say it again. There's no electronics on it. Like you have to install a battery to put lights on them, like because it's a race bike. It doesn't have any fancy stuff, and the DRZ 400 doesn't have any fancy stuff. I don't want, I don't want traction control and wheelie control and Bluetooth connectivity and all of this. No, I just want to be able to start it and ride it to where I want to ride it. But that's because I'm a little old school.
Well, I'm the same way, man. I mean, like the dash on my bike is it's just too much. I don't need all that. And this is gonna sound like I'm nitpicking, but something annoys the living hell out of me when say I know it's 8 o'clock every day. Say I went out there to ride my bike every day at 8 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Within 3 weeks, I'll go out there and fire it up right at 8 o'clock like I would have always done, and it'll say 8:15. Something sets my ass about a running clock, and I'll be damned if mine don't. And on the KTM, you have to like go through this whole procedure just to change the damn clock. It made me realize how much when I bought the bike, I was like, cool, look at that dash. That's awesome.
Yeah, the
And now,
tech is cool. It's shiny and it lets you do fun things.
mm, now I'm just like, do I need that? I mean, that I guess I'm going to, oh Lord, I'm getting old.
I'm getting old.
I don't need all that crap. Like,
Now I haven't really ridden a bike that has a whole bunch of those features and all of that fun stuff. Uh, but that's just because it doesn't trip my trigger. I mean, I can be a tech guy. I like technology, but like I understand how it all works, and it isn't this magical, mysterious thing to like. All that stuff does is 90% of it is it just controls your throttle input. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Like all your traction control, your cruise control, your ride modes, all of that. All that does is just change the sensitivity or response of your throttle, or it'll tell the motor, "Hey, just don't listen to it. Do this," which
Yeah.
that it's not this magical thing. Like it's got 6 ride modes. I'm like, you can have infinite ride modes. It's limited by the storage in the memory unit. Like it, they're so dumb. The storage units are still so dumb that they don't remember your last position when you turn off the bike most of the time.
Huh.
So,
Yeah.
like, why? How am I supposed to be impressed with a motorcycle? I can't even remember the position of what it was at before you turned it off. Like, you really don't have flash memory in there. So,
That's one of the things that they fixed on that XSR 900.
yeah.
They get, I guess I might sort of still be sort of techie, I guess, because the FZ09, it's a killer looking bike, but every time I ever saw anyone ride one in person, they were riding on the edge, man. That thing, it was just waiting to leap at any moment.
Well, yeah. Those like the MT-07, that doesn't
Well, I'm
have
talking about
the
the
what?
what now?
Weren't you
It's
talking
really
about
more
the
than
FZ?
the XZ09, yeah, like the XZ09 itself,
Oh,
like
yeah, the 9 so how they fixed that throttle problem was so fuel injections throttling how fuel injection does its fuel injecting, which it really isn't fuel injecting, it's port injecting. There is no fuel injecting motorcycles. Um, the way it works is there's a giant spreadsheet, right? And at any given moment, it's referencing how much fuel it needs to dump in based on the components inside that spreadsheet. That's all it is. So a carburetor does that mechanically, but a fuel injected bike does that electronically by basically rolling off a database hundreds of times a second or something like that. And so tuning it is literally opening up that database and changing some numbers to change the fueling at different positions of the throttle or different RPMs. That's all that like ECU tuning is nowadays for motorcycles. So when they upgraded the 900, all they did was just change the Excel spreadsheet. that's all that upgrade was. Hey, we changed the numbers around. It works better.
which is funny when you think about it too, because like they could, it's kind of like I guess like Suzuki with the DRZ. That's some shit they could have done a long time ago, dude.
What made it fuel injected?
No, made it not damn loop almost every time you.
Sit
I've got it
further
in my
forward.
head that the 900 is like the quintessential, and I don't know why, but I got it in my head that that's like the end all be all.
That's fine. Yeah. If you like it, go for it, man. Okay, so your next bang for budget bike. We got really off topic talking about uh,
Yeah,
fuel injection and stuff.
that's why I just started laughing because I was like, oh Lord,
And
I
that
done
wasn't even all of fuel injection.
spent.
So, what's your next one? Come on.
Ninja 650.
Ninja 650.
Yeah.
I could see it, yeah.
Have ridden are fun.
Yeah, I've ridden are fun. They also look cool. It's another ninja looking bike.
Yeah. and I guess that's where I'm going. Like you don't sit like you're on a damn rocket ship, but it has pickup. You know
Oh
what I
yeah,
mean?
it's got some cojones to it. 650 cc's. Everyone thinks 650 cc's is small. It's not. That's a lot of, you know, it's a lot of space. That's a half a liter bottle, just over.
And see, I went with that one mainly because I mean I could have said FZ or MT or what. I say FZ because that's what got me into it. That's what got me into this whole mess was that FZ07. But the 600 to 700, if I stay street, that's probably where I'm gonna go.
Okay. Yeah.
Those Ninja 650s are fun.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Um. Yeah, and you can find them used pretty cheap.
That was where I was going with it. Like my area, I don't know why, but on the marketplace in my area, you either find a 2009 or a 2012. That's it. That's all that ever pops up. And I'm sitting there wondering, are those the years? Yeah. Everybody always has one year where they tried something stupid, and you know, and nobody, everybody wants to get rid of that bike and get the other one.
Yeah.
That's all I see in my area is a 2012 Ninja and 2009 as well. I don't know what it is about the nine. Maybe 2009 was the last year for that ER6N looking, the way it looked, and then they changed it up with the Ninja. Maybe it got a little bit more techy. I don't know.
It's just those two. I don't know why there would only be two different years, but maybe they just sold a lot in the area and people are like, oh yes, they're going for money. Let's sell them.
That might be. I mean, to be honest with you, the one I rode was a 12.
Yeah.
So.
Nice. Yeah, I like the look of them. They're fun. They're fun-looking bikes. I do like the Kawasaki Racing Team green, KRT green. Can't go wrong with that. They also made an orange one. Apparently, they have orange, yellow, not yellow. They have orange, red, green, white. It looks like a black and a gray one.
The orange one, I've seen those lately in person, like riding around. I've seen a couple of them, and that orange looks all right, man. Like in person.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I don't think there's a lot of bad looking bikes out there right now. I think most of the bikes look pretty good nowadays. The designers kind of have it on lock now, where they know what people like. Anyway, so I guess my next one, if you can guess it, I'm sure everyone can guess it because I tout it all the time. It is the Leader Twins, the SV1000 and the Superhawk, the VTR 1000F. Mainly because you can have them for like $2,000 or $3,000. Gets you an 1000cc V twin sport bike, which is super hard to beat as a deal. And I highly recommend if you decide, hey, I want to get a leader bike or I want to go fast, get one of those because they have the power. They'll yeet you into the sun, but they don't have the extreme top end that'll end up getting you in super trouble. I mean, you can still get in super trouble. Don't get me wrong, but for price for performance,
like.
Hmm?
You could get in super trouble like that on a Duke. So I mean,
yeah, all bikes are quick, but I mean,
yeah,
like a Superhawk factory came at like just under 3 seconds, 0 to 60
Yeah.
in 1998. They are extraordinarily quick bikes, and they would do great in the city because they have just power everywhere. They have a huge power band, so it doesn't matter like, oh, I have to shift down in order to pass this guy. No, you just rev and it goes. And like I bought mine for $2,500. You, it's a stonking deal. I couldn't step away from it. It was such a good deal.
There's one in my area on Marketplace right now going for 15, and the guy's been using it as a track bike.
I don't know why you would use one as a track bike.
He had it all defairinged and everything, you know.
Yeah, like so the Superhawk, when they made that, Honda expressly came out and said, "This isn't a race bike. This is a sport bike for the street. It is supposed to be good on the road. So the suspension is set up for street conditions. And then people go out and take them to the track, and their suspension can't handle it because it's not stiff enough." I'll say the weak spot of the twins is the suspension. The SV1000 rear suspension is a known awful point, and essentially if you get one you have to upgrade the rear. And the Superhawk is known as way more set up, but that's still the weak point.
Yeah, I'm looking right now, and there's a yellow one too.
I want a yellow one, mainly because it's yellow. And I had a yellow car, and they're awesome. It is such a weird looking bike. Like it is undeniably a 90s motorcycle. It has all the weird organic curves. It's got the little bikini half fairing. You know, it's a 90s bike. It's 100% a 90s bike, and I really love it for the fact that it's a 90s bike. Also, dual side-mounted radiators are the shit. It is so fun to be riding and looking down, and they're like, ooh, radiator, and you put your hands by them, and it's hotter than the sun. So, it's pretty cool how they work. So the entire front end of the cowling acts as a scoop, right? And so the air inside the cowling is going slower than the air outside of the cowling. So it kind of acts as an aerofoil. So as air is moving past the outside of the fairing through the side mounts, it's sucking and pushing the air through the radiators. So it literally acts as a forced exhaust for your heat, and I think that's super neat. And I wish more bikes did that, other than just having a radiator slapped in the front where it's all buffeted, where it's physically sucking and pushing air out to move heat from that radiator as fast as possible. Because the Superhawk is a hot bike. It is an extraordinarily hot bike. That thing just makes two things: noise and heat. They were mentioning that the weak point of all basic budget bikes is the suspension in the chat. And the way I see about that is, the reason that the suspension on this bike is weak is because it's from 1998. Everything's a little bit old, and it wasn't designed to be a track bike. So they put softer, plushier suspension on it, so that way it's more enjoyable on the street. So that way when you do hit potholes or anything else, it isn't like this race focused. You're going to feel like a race bike, you're going to feel everything, because that's what they're designed to do. You're supposed to feel all the track underneath you so you can respond. This thing's not really going to do that. You're going to feel good. It feels good to ride, but it also has comfort to it because it's not a track bike. And the SV1000 just had a really bad rear suspension design. It was a really outdated design, and nobody quite knows why they went with it. The rest of the bike was brilliant. It's just the rear suspension linkage was a rotary one, and the rear suspension was a rotary suspension, and it just it got too hot and would end up killing itself if you decided to ride Spirit with some heat going on. If you were, just suspension gets warm. If you were to like ride hard, it would overheat the suspension and end up killing it. And as for modern suspension is actually really good. Even the cheap stuff is really good. Compared to my old 80s bike, that's one seal and a spring. New suspension, like I could rebuild my GS's forks in a day. Easy. Dump out the oil, pull it out, pull out the spring, put in a new seal, throw the spring back in, throw in oil, put it together. You're done. Super simple. So, like an MT-07, they're known for having weak suspension. The suspension is the weak point. But it's still miles ahead of what it used to be. It's just that most people who get a cheaper bike, like if they want upgraded suspension, they can upgrade it. But suspension is extremely expensive to get. It would make it a $7,000 bike into an $8,000 bike, which is a deal breaker for a lot of people. So
Yeah, I could see that, man.
So what they do is plus suspension doesn't sell. You can't like back in the day you could be like, it has a plush Pro Link suspension. Nowadays no one cares if it has a Pro Link suspension or whatever, it doesn't mean anything. So they go, it's got 80 horsepower, and people go, it's got 80 horsepower, and it's got this much torque, and they go, it's got this much torque. And they go, I'm interested, because the numbers are big, therefore better. So, suspension can make or break a bike, but the engine and the looks are what sell the bike. So, they kind of go, yep, the suspension will work for this motorcycle, and then they put all their money into engine and marketing and making the bike look pretty so people will actually buy it, because the chances are that somebody, if there's their second or third bike, they'll buy it and they'll go, the suspension is okay, and they won't think anything of it. It's when you get people who race, and ride hard, and do all that stuff, and then they go, well, the suspension sucks.
Yeah. When you find somebody that actually knows the importance of a good suspension in a corner.
Yeah, and the problem is that a lot of bikes don't have good suspension, so even if you do end up riding a number of bikes, unless it's a high-end thing or you even have it set up for you, you're never going to know. A cheap suspension set up for you is better than a more pricey suspension not set up.
Like with my bike, I would almost have to say whoever, because like I know I told you before I bought it and it had 150 miles on it, so
Yeah,
technically it was used. I would almost have to say whoever bought it had to have been around my height
yeah, it was
because
set up for you.
that's half the reason why I bought it. I sat on it and I was like, hey, this doesn't feel like them other ones over there. It was a little tighter in the rear and a little. I mean, it was set up more, I guess, for me. And to be honest, like what you said, I'd never even thought about suspension.
No, most people when they buy their first bike, they don't like suspension is last on their mind unless they're getting like a dirt bike or a dual sport, and then they go, well, I need something good. But like when we have new people come into the Discord and they're like, hey, man, I would love to ride a bike. Like, hey, can you get me a good beginner bike? No thought almost goes into, well, it has a cheap suspension. Like, no, this is gonna be a fun bike. You're gonna have fun on it. Even a crappy suspension can be fun. Like,
Yeah,
just don't push it as hard. Which, I mean, you shouldn't. You shouldn't really be pushing bikes that hard on the street anyway. So,
right.
it's on the track where you'll notice it. But a lot of, I don't know, it's supermotos, people care about it. Dual sports, people care about it. Track bikes, people care about it. Other than that, Like if there's an option, it goes, you pay $500 more and you get upgraded suspension. People will go, yeah, okay. But I don't know. It's just one of those things that, like, when I'm looking at bikes, I don't sit there and think about suspension.
Yeah. So that was kind of like the selling point on that. So like, I didn't know anything about suspension, and the guy like kept saying, "Well, it comes with a WP suspension, so
Well,
you're
almost
good."
all KTM's come with a WP suspension because KTM owns WP.
I didn't even know what WP was though. I was like, "Oh, that must be something."
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so WP was an aftermarket brand that KTM used so much that I believe they bought it.
Oh, okay.
Kind of like it's kind of like, but not at all like So Suzuki and Yoshimura used to have a thing together. So you used to be able to
Yeah.
buy a brand new DRZ and spend like $100 more, and they'd give you a full Yoshimura exhaust on top of it,
Huh.
like a full blown, like probably not legal exhaust, because it was a option from a different manufacturer, right? So kind of like how when you used to buy old muscle cars and they'd go, well, um you don't need like this is a street legal car, and then you'd spend $1 and they'd throw like the super wide tires and shit in the back of the trunk and send you home with
Yeah.
it and go, don't use it now, wink wink. Like,
Yeah.
so Yoshimura would be like, this is a race bike now, right? And everyone would go, yes, it's a race bike. And then they get
You
the
know,
race exhaust.
do you ever hear about like how there's actually a Yoshimura? Is it a Yoshimura? Yeah. There's a Yoshi exhaust that KTM got together with, and it's the full like for a Duke now.
Oh,
It's
I'm
the
sure.
full. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I said, oh, I'm sure.
Okay, sorry. Uh, but here's the catch. It's a Yoshimura Power Part exhaust, like full exhaust, that does not void your factory warranty.
Yeah, that's what the Yoshi was on the DRZ.
Mm,
You could buy
That's what
it
it was
and
sounding you were talking about it.
you'd spend 100 extra bucks and they'd install it factory wise and you'd still have your warranty.
Yeah,
Uh,
150 miles. I didn't get that option. Yeah,
Nothing I own has a warranty. Nothing except for I think our TV. That's it.
well, like I'm not gonna lie. I was a little smart when it comes to the warranty part. I did buy the extended warranty because I did see the letters KTM.
Keep throwing money.
Right.
KTM's are great until your warranty ends. After that, not so much.
The guy at Mountain was telling me half those monsters I was telling you about that were up there
Yeah,
were due for the big what is it called?
the Desmodromic valve. Yep.
Yeah. And he was telling me there's certain KTM's that have something similar, but it's not like Desmo. Like it's like there's like mine has a valve check at like I think like 9,000 miles,
Mhm.
but it's not that serious. Like apparently, yeah, those monsters is like serious like that.
Well, Desmos are. You know how a Desmo valve works, right?
To be honest, I've never really. I've been told, kind of understand it, but couldn't tell you right now. I'll put it that way.
So Ducati back in the day, they wanted, as you know, horsepower is made by RPM, right? So the higher your RPM, the more horsepower. That's why 600s can get like 100 plus horsepower because they rev to the absolute moon, right? So you can
Yeah.
get a lot of horsepower by revving really fast. And so Ducati back in the day when they were racing, We want to go faster, but we need more horsepower. So how do we do that? Um, how do we do that? We make the engine spin faster. But metallurgy, well, I'm gonna say this: Italian metallurgy is has something to be desired. It's not the best from what I've seen. Even still today, they still don't make the best stuff. I'm sure all the high-end places are better now, but like machining and manufacturing wise, take it or leave it. Either way, spring technology back in the day was pretty trash. We've gotten a lot better with metallurgy and heat treating, but back then it really wasn't. It was kind of like we're going to take some spring steel, put it in a coil, and that's our spring. And so the valves, you know what valve float is, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
So the springs would have valve float after a certain RPM all the time. So when they designed the Desmo system, they said we're going to get rid of the springs, and instead they have two cams for the valve. So one cam forces the valve up, and one cam forces the valve down. So it will always positively engage and disengage based on engine speed rather than on valve spring speed. So when you have to check the Desmo, you're checking several competing tolerances against each other, which makes it extremely difficult. So it takes a long time because they have so many valves but each valve has the double amount of cams and no springs. So it's not like you rotate the engine and tell me what the distance is between the cam and the tappet, because the tappet moves between two pieces. So it's very complicated. It did its job very well, and right now there's no need for it.
Yeah, he did tell me that 90% of any Ducatis that you see on marketplace or anything like that are more than likely due the Desmo.
Yeah. And that's fine. Uh, Ducati does make a good machine. I don't necessarily want one. I think I'd want the older one. An older one, which is the worst thing you could ever want, is an older Ducati. But I would want an older one, just because I like them more. Because the new Ducatis look cool, but they just don't do it for me. Like, I don't know. Like, yeah, you could spend 20 grand on this V-twin bike. Oh boy. Or do something else. Like, I got my V-twin sport bike for $2,500. It sounds like when I was riding around, people said it sounds like a Ducati. It probably rides similar to a Ducati, except for the suspension, and power. It's just, it's not a Ducati.
So that's why you want a yellow one.
I want a yellow one because I had a yellow car.
Oh, okay.
And I sold the yellow car, and I want to get a yellow vehicle again.
I got you.
But they said back in the day when the Super Hawk and the RC51 and SV1000 all came out, people would have license plates with like Duke Killer on them, and because all these companies were like, yeah, screw it, we're gonna slap Ducati, and Honda did, which is one of my favorite parts of Honda. They got pissy and decided, yeah, we're gonna beat Ducati at their own game, and they did for like 6 years straight.
Yeah, I've still not seen my friend's RC51.
I want an RC51. If I were to get a sport bike, like full-blown track bike, probably be an RC51.
Yeah, the guy I was telling you that had the Busa, he's got one. It looks cool in pictures.
Well, tell him I have its baby cousin.
Okay. You know, he's like you, so he probably already knows that.
Yeah, I mean, I chose it because it was basically a baby RC51. not trackable, but it's much more street rideable than an RC. Okay, well, it's almost time for us to head out. So what's your last budget bike so we can oodle and ogle about it?
Ah, I'll tell you what. I'll let you go first because
I just went with the Super Hawk.
I mean, really, like anything I say now would just be like something ADV that we've already covered. You know.
That's fine.
I can't think of anything. I'm half with it.
Yeah.
I had a list, and it evaporated.
Did you write it down?
Oh no!
Oh, well.
I told you I gotta wing it, or I don't know what I'm doing. You know.
I've been winging it the entire time. I should write down, like, stuff, but I never end up doing it because that's just apparently not how I work.
Oh, FTR. It wasn't. It was not an ADV.
An FTR? A 1200?
Yeah. Yes.
That is not a budget bike.
No, no, but hear me out, all right? The reason why, because a guy I know has one, and he said it is the most solid bike he has ever had.
Yeah,
Like,
when I rode one, it was pretty solid. I'll tell you that.
he said like you know, it was like he gave me one of those knock on wood situations. He's like, I don't see this thing ever, you know, being an issue.
No,
And
I think the FTR is a brilliant bike, and I think it's... Everyone looks at the weight, they're like, it's 500 pounds. Yeah, it's a very solid, dense motorcycle. Also, it's 1200cc V-twin. It's gonna be a heavier bike. It's not gonna be your little inline force. I think an inline 4 1000 motor weighs less than the V-twin on that FTR. Easily.
and see, that's where my budget came in on that one. Was it was not buying it cheaper; it was spending less on it.
Oh, I don't know if maintenance is gonna be less.
Well, I mean, if it,
I think you have to use premium fuel and all sorts of stuff in it.
well, man, I got to do that on the Duke.
Oh, I don't. I don't have premium fuel or anything.
Yeah, it's 90 or 91 and above.
Jeez.
It's ridiculous.
So the moral of the story is just get an old cheap bike, and you never
Yeah.
have to worry about gas prices. Just like for me, they're like, "What's the cheapest fuel?" Well, I'll just shove that in there. Same thing with oil. Well, what's the oil? Well, it looks like oil, right? Yeah. Okay, that'll work.
I'll tell you a little funny story with the current gas situation. Uh, since I've bought my bike, I've told myself nothing with ethanol is going in this bike. So I wasn't thinking and went to the gas station the other day to fill it up with the non-ethanol 93, you know.
Mhm.
Never in my life have I thought that I'd ever have to say it took $15 to fill her up.
Yeah. Well, times are tough.
Yeah. That just, it just, I had a double take. You know, I was like, oh, damn. You know, like,
Yeah, I don't have an option of not getting ethanol stuff. Everything around me, like Northern Illinois, it's all ethanol. You're in the land
Oh,
of
yeah.
corn. You're gonna have ethanol.
Hey, speaking of that, Illinois is playing Chattanooga today in basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that has nothing to do with motorcycles. I just heard it on the radio, and I was like, hey, I should tell Ranger.
Yeah, I don't watch sports.
Well, just the whole Illinois and Chattanooga thing, you know?
Yeah, it sounds fun. I wish Illinois well. Kinda.
Well, I hope they choke.
Thanks. Now we're never gonna be friends again.
I don't know anything about Illinois, man.
It's horrible. Don't come here. It's a horrible place. Filled with sadness and depression. All you need to know is that it's depressing and everyone's poor.
Everybody here loves it. Yeah.
Well, I think that's all I have time for with the Smortcast. It is 9:12. It is late. I think we had some good discussions, but we got off topic a lot.
That was all my fault.
Ah, it's fine. Is it really anything if you don't get off topic?
Yeah.
Well,
It,
I think I'm gonna have to let you go because I got stuff I need to do here.
all right, man.
Take it easy.
As
It
always,
was fun.
yeah, it was a blast.
Heck yeah. So I guess I'll see you next time.
All right, man.